From the building of faith, welcome to Celebration, a Christian talk and variety show with outreaches across the world via television, internet, and social media. You'll hear from some of today's leading authors, preachers, singers, evangelists, songwriters, and local Christian leaders. Now here's your host, president and founder of the Destiny Television Network, Dr. J.T. Guyton.
Hello there, and welcome to this Destiny Television special. We are on location at Hank Snow's Rainbow Ranch with his son, Jimmie Rodgers Snow, who is a former rockabilly singer, evangelist, pastor, great preacher of the gospel, television host as well. And we're going to get into all that today. I am honored that you would do this with us and be a part. This is just awesome. All the history and information that you have been sharing as we have walked around this property today, that people can actually come and stay here now. Yeah. It's an Airbnb. They can stay here for several days if they want. I think he said a while ago somebody stayed here 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, 3 months.
3 months. Yeah. So yeah, you can come and hang out here at Hank's Ranch where Elvis and all these guys have come. As a matter of fact, and I'm going to let Brother Jimmie share this in a minute, but this piano behind me is the original piano. These chairs are original chairs from when you grew up in this house.
I sure did.
You're the storyteller.
All righty. Now this was my bedroom.
Okay.
When we lived here, and of course the bed, all of this came from the Dallas Furniture Company out there in Texas. Dad had his same way in his bedroom, and this is where he was. Now, later on in life, and of course that picture you have of me, when I had my car accident in 1956, I'm recuperating. We talked about it earlier. I'm laying on that bed right there.
Okay.
When all those cards and letters are there.
Wow.
And right where you're standing, my mother, after my dad got to the place that he was sick and everything and couldn't do a lot, Mother had a lot of physical problems. And she wound up having a cancerous problem up in her uterus. And she was here, she couldn't do much. And she was pretty sick. And it lingered on like that for quite some time. So Marty used to come over all the time to the house.
Marty Robbins.
Yeah, he and Dad were friends. They shared the same dressing room.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I have a letter where Marty sends this letter to my dad. Evidently, Marty comes off the stage. Dad's in the dressing room and has a rehearsal going on before he's going on a little later.
Yeah.
And there are 3 women in there talking to him. So Marty writes him a letter. Well, Hank, he said, we're sharing this dressing room together and everything. He says, I can't believe that you do this to me, that you'd have these 3 broads in there and you're just talking up a storm with them, and I have to go and pull this curtain around me so I can change my clothes. And I can't rehearse, and he's just giving Dad down the road. But this was the way he do, see? And Dad just, he writes him back, and I've got the answer. Where he writes back, well, I'm very sorry, he said, I couldn't be nasty to them, and all of that. And the truth of the matter is that he was kidding him about all this and making him think he was upset.
Right.
And then as Dad writes the letter, you can see all of a sudden it's dawning on my father. You outfit you.
Oh my goodness.
But they do those kind of things to each other.
Yeah.
And so he comes over. He'd always come over. He wanted Dad to hear a song he wrote.
Yeah.
He's a great writer. And he kind of lead Dad into thinking, well, it's a great song for you. You may want to record this. Well, okay. He'd bring it over and he'd sing it for Dad. And Dad, if he liked it, oh yeah, that's a good song.
Yeah.
Marty'd go record it. I don't know what songs they
He
were.
needed a good opinion.
Yeah. And so one day he comes over with a song and Dad says, am I getting to do this one, or is this one that you want me to listen to, get my opinion, and then you're going to go record it? No, Hank, he said, I really want you to hear this. So after they get through, he turns to my dad, and he's getting ready to leave, and he said, Hank, he said, do you mind if I go say hi to your to Min? That's my mother.
Right.
And Dad said, well, she's not doing very well, Marty, but I'll go ask her.
Yeah.
So he comes in, and he asks her, and she agrees to let him come in. So he comes in, he's standing right there, and he's talking to her, and letting her know how much he appreciates her. And he turns to Dad, and he says, Hank, let me borrow your guitar. Something Dad doesn't usually do, is let somebody borrow his guitar. But he said, okay. He went back in the office where we were a while ago and gets the guitar and brings it in. Marty takes the guitar and sits down on the floor right there.
Wow.
And sings to my mother for an hour.
Wow. That's amazing.
I'm telling you, that's character.
Yes, sir.
Real character. But Marty was a great guy.
For those watching and may not know, your dad, Hank Snow, was a Canadian-American country music artist from the 50s right on up. I guess he had hits into the 80s?
Dad was 47 years on RCA Victor.
Wow.
But Dad was born in Brooklyn, Nova Scotia. I was born in Halifax.
Okay.
And he was... his hero was Jimmie Rodgers. We already discussed that earlier. I'm named after him, and he decided at age 14 that he was going to be he wanted to be a singer and guitar player. And he emanated everything of Jimmie Rodgers to do that. He started recording in 1936 for Canada's portion of RCA Victor. So he was on RCA from 36 to, I think, to around 81 or 82 or something like that. I can't remember the exact date, but the longest recording artist on a major label. I don't think anybody's ever done that yet. And he set a record there, because nowadays they don't stay on a record label very long, and the record label situation has changed drastically because of YouTube and all of the other ways you can get music now. So he crossed the border in 47 and went to Hollywood to try to become a singer in that way, to actor-singer, hopefully. He lost everything he had there and wound up in Dallas. Doing nothing.
Yeah.
And he thought, well, he had a record back then called Brand on My Heart, which KRLD in Dallas, Texas, for somehow or another got their hands on it, and they played the fire at it, and he was pretty famous in Dallas. So he thought, well, maybe I can do something there. Well, Mother and I were in New Brunswick living at the time. So he wound up there trying to get ahead, and he started working in a club there that was owned by a deputy sheriff, and it was called the Roundup Club. So he sent for us. He would get some gigs a couple of times a week here and there. And down the street, 2 blocks, was another club called the Silver Spur, owned by Jack Ruby.
Wow. And you were how old?
I was 12.
12 years old.
Yeah, when we moved. And I remember I used to go out on the floor because Dad had that horse. At that time, that could do 2 hours of nothing but tricks. It was a very, very smart horse.
Wow.
And it kept us from starving. And Dad had an Indian, a full-blooded Indian that used to sing on the WWVA that he'd become friends with.
Yeah.
And Dad was on WWVA for a while. We lived in Wheeling for a short span. And while we're there, Dad is learning how to trick ride.
Okay.
That's how he got involved in the horse.
Okay.
And he learned how to do the rope and the spinning and all that stuff, that cowboys did. And so I had to learn some of that stuff. And we were basically a full show ourselves. And when he went there, they loved the horse. They weren't concerned about his singing. And so I'd go in the club during the day and put straw down on the dance floor so Dad could bring the horse in.
So the horse was in the club?
In the club doing a few tricks.
That's interesting. Okay, wow.
And that's what got him from starving to death, all of us.
Wow.
And there was a big concert that used to go on every Saturday in Dallas called Big D Jamboree. It's still going on. And it was at the Sportatorium there in Dallas. And Dad found out that Ernest Tubb was going to be there. And they knew each other by correspondence. He had never met Ernest.
Okay.
But they would write each other because they both had a common thing, Jimmie Rodgers.
Oh.
That's how come my name is Jimmie Rodgers Snow, because that was Dad's hero.
Okay.
He wanted to play the guitar, sing, and do everything like Jimmie Rodgers.
Right.
Well, Ernest Tubb was the same way about Jimmie Rodgers.
Okay.
So when Dad found out, he got backstage and waited in the dressing room and met with Ernest Tubb. Of course, Ernest knew who he was, and they talked about Jimmie Rodgers. And so Dad told him what he was doing with KRLD and all that. And Ernest said, Hank, I believe I can get you a tryout on the Grand Ole Opry. Well, that was the Mecca, right?
Oh, yeah.
For
Absolutely.
country music singers. So Dad said, wow. Well, December 1949, we moved to Nashville, and he had his tryout. He had 3 weeks. They were going to let him go because he didn't prove himself when he came out with I'm Moving On, which was his signature song.
Yeah.
Changed everything. First house we lived in right here.
Wow.
1951. I can't think of the name.
So your dad built the speakers, didn't he?
Yes.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this. Do the ships in the speaker come, does that have anything to do with him
Yes.
being on the sea at one time?
Yes, my
Okay.
father was a cabin boy on the fishing schooners
Yeah.
off of the Grand Banks of Nova Scotia when he was 14 years old.
Wow.
That's how he lived, because he was basically by himself.
Yeah.
He didn't have his mother was married to a man that was a terrible, terrible man. And he was an abuser. Dad had 3 sisters, and the sisters wound up going to a grandmother. He pretty much wound up on his own. He used to sleep in the train station a lot when he came in off of those fishing trips. And today that train station is the museum to my dad.
Right.
And it's really pretty neat. And when you walk in the front door, to your left is a bench, and that's where he used to sleep, on that bench. They used to have a mannequin there that represented him.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Now, I wonder, do those speakers still work?
I don't know. He painted a lot of ships and things like that. He loved that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Perfect Storm. He was in one of those situations.
Wow.
He saw the movie. He said, "I've been right there in that." They had to tie him to the mast to keep him from being washed over.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So it.
And here, this is when your dad had signed Elvis, is that right, in this picture?
Okay, now the signing, the way that worked out. Let me explain that to you.
Okay.
Kind of like what we do with football, we have what we call a letter of intent. Okay. I was booked on a show by Parker with him.
Okay.
Parker heard about. Nobody knew who he was over here,
Right.
but he was popular in Memphis, parts of Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and I think a small part of Louisiana, because he was on the Louisiana hayride for a while, and a little bit of East Texas. Other than that, nobody anywhere else knew who he was. But Parker had an eye for potential. I was already being part of Parker's deal. So what happened was he booked me on a show date because they had been talking on the phone. And he said, "I'm going to book Hank's son down there with you on this show." And he's going to bring a letter of intent. So I carried the letter of intent to that show. This was my first time to ever see him.
Okay.
He had on a chartreuse jacket with black pants with white stripes down the side.
Okay.
Never forget it. Probably 1,000, I might be overshooting that a little bit, people that were there to hear him. So it wasn't big crowds,
Yeah.
but didn't matter. They still scream and carry on. And that was my first time to see a woman in a fur coat screaming and carrying on.
Wow.
Probably in her 30s.
Okay.
So it weren't just teeny boppers, okay? Because he was an extremely handsome guy, you know that. I mean, even men admired him. And I watched him on the stage on many times because then we all wanted to be like him.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And kind of moving in that direction of the music and everything.
Yeah.
So my last few recordings were along that line, which can be heard on YouTube now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I got the letter signed and I brought it back. And then they set up a meeting for Elvis to come and meet with Dad and meet with him and to discuss. Well, when Colonel Parker and Dad took over Elvis and Elvis Presley, back before he was a star or anything,
Right.
he would come over because he had to do business over here with Dad and with Parker.
Okay.
Parker didn't live but about 10 minutes less than that from here. And so I would be the one in most instances that would carry things back and forth from Parker to the house because I was a teenager, right?
Sure.
So when Elvis would come to town for whatever reason Parker needed to see him, he'd call me and we'd get the two motorcycles and we'd go, you know, all over Madison here,
Yeah.
riding around. If the people, I was telling somebody a while ago, if the people in some of these restaurants and places we went knew who had gone in there,
Yeah.
they'd had a fit.
Right. Right.
But then we just, you know, we'd sit around and talk or eat something, especially during the summer months. And we'd come down here because he'd come down, you know, to look at the barn and things of that sort. And we'd stand and throw knives against that wall, those doors. And I also carried, I had a gun at that time too. And sometimes we'd shoot 22.
Okay.
But mainly the knives. He loved to throw those knives. I don't know why. He
Now,
loved
did y'all just throw them at the door?
at the door, yeah.
Okay.
See the brick there, it would break them.
Right, okay. That's what I was looking for.
But the door was a little different. So we throw them at the door, or that door there. And then there was something on the other side over here that leaned up that was wooden, that leaned against the wall. We go around there and throw them too.
Wow.
And sometimes even throw them at the trees back there in the backyard.
Wow, that's amazing. Interesting.
I would stand here for an hour or so and just throw knives at that thing. We had several of them.
Yeah.
They made up a contract, which I have in that book that I gave you today. And inside that little book, the whole contract. It's not the main contract now. It's the one that was signed by my father and Parker
Okay.
in an agreement. Now what happened was, Parker used to manage Eddie Arnold. So they split up. Parker wanted to get a well-known act, and Dad was like the #1 country singer at that time. So he approached my father and said, would you be willing to go into business with me, and I'll manage you, and we'll book out package shows.
Right.
And put other people on there, we'll split it
Yeah.
together and all that. This is what was going on when I carried the letter of intent.
Yeah.
So we were doing package shows. So he thought if we can get Elvis signed as a young person and put him into the package shows, then I got Jimmie and him, and even approached Tommy Sands about it, the guy that became the actor, okay, to book out in these shows. So this is what put us together.
Okay.
We were the same age about. He was a year older than me.
Okay.
So we wound up traveling, and that's how we became friends and everything, was traveling these shows. They amalgamated their businesses. Parker had Jamboree Attractions, Dad had Hank Snow Enterprises, and they went in 50-50.
Okay.
That's why Elvis should have been, because he was part of Jamboree Attractions.
Yeah.
You see? And then, of course, the manipulation and all that went on
Yeah.
after that is what
Yeah.
cost Dad his 50%.
A lot of people say he was a shrewd businessman.
He was. There's no doubt about that.
So let me ask you something. You were traveling with your dad, and you were doing shows with your dad singing from the time you were a little kid, which we've talked about. But so when you broke off to travel with Elvis, you were more rock and roll then than the country?
Rockabilly is what they called us then.
Rockabilly, okay.
Yeah, you could be country and rock.
Okay.
Because it wasn't the major rock and roll yet
Right.
until that DJ in New York come up with that concept,
Right.
rock and roll.
Right.
And Elvis would have told you himself if he were alive today that he was a country singer.
Yeah.
Because he knew everybody's country song. He had a great memory.
I heard something the other day. This young man that I grew up, his brother and I were best friends growing up, And he commented, he posted on Facebook, he said, the most devastating day of my life. And then he put these dots after his post, and he said, I just realized that Elvis was just really the greatest cover artist in the world.
Yeah.
But that's what he did, didn't
That's
he?
right.
He took other
did
people's
something.
songs.
He did something that no other artist did. So he receives that notoriety, king of rock and roll.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there were others that sold more records than him that were bigger later. But he was king because he took rhythm and blues, gospel, country, and pop, and brought them all together into one. Yeah. In other words, you could find him on the charts, like I can't remember all the charts.
Cashbox,
You could find him in every one of those charts for rhythm and blues, rock and roll, and all that.
Yeah. But
nobody else could do that.
He could take somebody's song and it just was totally different. And so he would, and I got to thinking about it after he said that, and I'm like, you know what? He did have a few originals, but he would take somebody else's hit, such as
an original.
Jerry Lee Lewis's Whole Lot of Shaking Going On.
Yeah.
Elvis has Elvis has the better cut of it. And my nephew's a huge Elvis fan, and John Christian said, Elvis is not going to be outdone by anybody, was he? I mean, he would just take that song, make it hit.
Absolutely.
And that's
what about his first record? The Other Side was a bluegrass song written by Bill Monroe called Blue Moon of Kentucky.
Well, he changed that out.
Elvis changed it big time.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
And we've got, I keep looking at my phone because I've got all these notes and things I want to talk to you about today. But we're going to take some of the audio of some of your songs. And I want to talk about just a couple of those songs real quick that maybe stand out to you. One that I like is It Won't Do No Good.
Oh, yeah.
It Won't Do No Good. Do you remember who wrote that? Or
probably the two people that wrote the song I Don't Hurt Anymore that Dad had a big hit on. Robinson was the one, they were co-writers, and I can't remember their names. They wrote a lot of stuff.
And you did, Well, What Do You Know?
Well, what do you know? Yeah. But I only wrote one among all my own.
Really?
And it was one that I put the rock feel into it, which was a song called, I can never think of those things when I want to. It'll get to you in a minute. Anyway, Grady Martin, one of the top guitar players in the city.
Heard that name.
It was on everybody's stuff. And he's an A picker. He plays the main stuff in it. He was excellent. Love Me, that was it. And and it did very well for me. It's on YouTube.
So, what was your favorite song that you did?
My faithful heart, tear it all apart.
Of mine, I would have to say probably My Fallen Star, which was my first recording.
Okay, yeah.
I was only 16.
You were only 16 years old? Wow, I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course, next to that would be Love Me. Treat me like a fool, treat me mean and cruel, but love me. Elvis made the big hit on it. Okay. And that's where he heard it. I was traveling together.
Okay, so he took that from you.
Yeah, and bigger seller than me, of course.
And did his. Wow. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you would not have made that decision out by that tree? If you would have followed the path of rockabilly? Well,
I was doing things I ought not to have been doing. I was a pretty bad individual at that time. Yeah. I was a habitual liar. I drank all the time. I used language in every sentence. And I got so bad in my drinking, because I drank constantly, that I probably would have died early and young. I would have wasted my life away. Yeah. God just reversed everything. Yeah.
I know, as you've said earlier, you don't regret it. You don't regret the decision you made.
No,
I mean, you had everything. Your dad was one of the top singers on the charts and in the nation. You had your own fans you were building up.
Yeah,
you had a great voice. You were a nice-looking man. I mean, you had everything. We were looking at a picture a while ago, and we'll talk about the accident. And you got this huge stack of fan mail, and I said, I know that was from all those ladies. But you decided to walk away from that because
I had to. I just had to. I was never really happy doing the music.
Yeah.
You know, I never point my finger at others, but I don't know. It ground inside of me. But see, Dad had everything, and I was always second in line. And you don't find very many sons and daughters of stars that make it in the same level as their parents.
Yeah.
Dad is a 6-time Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He recorded 833 singles.
Whoa, I
and
didn't realize that many.
104 albums.
Wow.
And he's a member of so many things. He had a great career.
Yeah.
70 million records he sold in his career. I could never see myself achieving such. My heart wasn't in it. And that's because God was dealing with me and I didn't know what I was looking for. I would sit and I, God bless him, he's gone now and he's been dead, is a fellow named Furlan Husky. Furlan used to play a lot of shows with us. And we're riding, for some reason or another, he wound up riding to one of the shows with my dad's car, the 9-passenger Cadillac. And the boys knew I drank, but I would never do it around my dad. But we were stoned, Furlan and me.
Okay.
We're sitting in the back seat. Guess what we're talking about? Drunk now. Jesus.
Jesus.
Furlan was, I was. Don't forget, he had On the Wings of a Dove.
Right.
So he had some background there. And I mean, I could feel God dealing with me. But see, I got saved at 15, backslid, and now you don't run from that easy. You know what I'm saying? God's going to dog you. And that's what I get when people are always saying, I can't believe that a loving God would send me to hell. No, he won't.
He won't.
You go on your own.
Go ahead and preach.
You make
brother.
your own decision.
That's right.
And I realized that he puts a fence around hell to keep us from going there. And I was well aware of the fact that he was dealing with me when I was drunk.
Because your destiny was not country music.
No.
That was part of your, what's the word I'm looking for? That was part of your ancestry, part of your history, but it wasn't your destiny.
Well, it gave me an opportunity, Brother Guyton, to be able to say to people that are not saved, I had this and this and this and this and this, but I walked away voluntarily. Not to be bragging about all that, but just to let you know, I found something different.
And you really walked away while you were on the top.
Yeah, I did. I was right then breaking.
Yeah.
I had already signed up for Actor Studio in New York.
Wow.
I had the knowledge of people like Elvis and everything that could help me.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I want to do this.
That's what I love about you and honor. I mean, you walk away from all that for Jesus.
But you got to pay a price.
Yeah.
You know, and I have paid a price since my decision.
Yeah.
Because you know you don't reach the perfection in this life. We make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I've certainly made my share.
Were there a lot of parties that happened here? We talked about your dad had people coming in and out of this house all the time.
Understand, this room wasn't here at the beginning.
Okay.
So this is a 2-story type situation.
Right.
Everything ended right around that wall going across.
Okay.
So the living room over here behind you, this room, and what was over in that area was not part of the house. The house was all that going back.
Okay.
Then Dad added this after he started making money.
Okay.
All right. So this was not the party area. It was actually in that room over there, his studio.
Okay.
Because Dad would kind of keep everything separated when he would have his friends over. He had his drinking parties because he drank until I accepted the ministry.
Right.
And it wasn't because I asked him to or anything. I have no idea because I talked to him about the Lord. He wouldn't really pay attention, although he honored God.
Yeah.
But then when I made the decision to go into full-time ministry, he quit drinking just like that.
Maybe he saw the change in you and realized that
We're God's best servant.
Yeah. You know what I love about this house too is all the pictures of the history. You said your dad had a lot in here.
Oh, every wall was lined with the pictures like I showed you earlier.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
And the character, like these lamps with these horseshoe things around it on the wheels. But or on the wagon wheel. But your dad, I would say he was probably one of the few, if not maybe the only one, you probably know, that had a lot of, I don't want to say the majority because I don't know, but a lot of his album covers were made in this house or on this property.
You're right.
Because I've seen it seemed like there's one was over in this area, I think.
It is, but he lined up all his stuff over here. He had a beautiful silver saddle he put on that horse.
Wow.
That was there, and all his guitars were lined up there. But he had all his parties there and in his office. Now there's some stuff right here. This lady right here, her name is Carol Baker. She's a big singer. I've got that picture right there. That's when we first moved in the house.
Okay.
You see out in the front yard there?
Yes.
Grass isn't even cut.
Yeah. Now, I happened to see this on YouTube.
YouTube, yes.
Where
Carol Baker's her name.
they were singing I'm Moving On.
And that's out in the backyard.
Okay. Now, I think my favorite Hank Snow song is I Don't Hurt Anymore.
Yeah. Did you ever pay attention to how it starts?
As far
It
as...
was a mistake. It don't hurt anymore. It's I don't hurt anymore.
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
And he said it don't hurt anymore. And as a result of that, RCA said the cut is just too good to let go.
Yeah.
We're going to leave it in.
Wow.
Most people don't know that.
So you only get that stuff right here on DTV, Destiny Television. But I, of course, I'm a huge fan of I've Been Everywhere because it mentions that more.
Now, let me tell you a story about that. I've Been Everywhere is basically an Australian wrote it
Okay.
of Australian cities. And somebody brought it to my dad's attention.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to record that. And he turned around and rewrote with American cities.
Yeah.
But he didn't get any credit because it was already copyrighted.
The fourth verse, one of them says he's been to Atmore.
That's right. I never thought about that.
Atmore, Alabama. So in this portion of the studio, this is where they would stand and sing.
Dad had a couch right here, and he'd sit with a chair, put his own microphone down, get the recording set. He had an 8-track sitting back there against the wall,
Okay.
and a 4-track, and a single track, and a 2-track, all lined up right there. As a matter of fact, I think Cal, that owns the house, is trying to negotiate to get the recording machines back to make it look right, you know.
Yeah.
And he'd sit in here and he would dub his own stuff into the master and take it back to Chad or Steve, whoever it was.
So tell me, your dad, I guess, and Porter Wagner, were they maybe the first ones to bring in these type of stage clothes?
No, not necessarily. Dad was
Okay.
the first one to get real sophisticated with it.
Okay.
But there was already some Opry people that were
Okay.
on the Opry stage. Maybe not as full as Dad got. Dad designed his own suits,
Okay.
and then Nudie would make them for him the way he designed it.
We're talking about several $1,000s
You're not kidding, yeah.
per suit.
Now let me tell you an interesting thing about my father. I showed you the different closets that he had, nothing but clothes in.
Right.
He probably had 50 pairs of boots.
Wow.
He probably had 150 suits,
Oh my goodness.
all designed by him, because he was a painter, remember?
Yeah.
And if you opened up the closet door, all his suits were lined up facing the same way. His boots lined up in 3 sections with the toes pointing out. He would always rotate his suits. He'd never just reach in and pick out one. He knew exactly what he was going to wear next week at the Opry because it was first in line. He did his shirts that way, his ties that way. Everything he did was, even when you look at his desk in a moment, even his desk, all the pencils, the leads were lined facing the same direction.
He was a little OCD.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, I'm not that way.
No,
I'm
I'm
more
not.
like my mother. Of course, the walls were filled with pictures.
Yeah.
So what you've got in here right now is just a very small part of it. And he used to always have all of his pencils and his ink pens and everything. Special things were here, and they were always pointed the same way. And he was sitting in that chair when he found out that Parker had been cheating him when they booked those package shows. Parker was supposed to put up 50%. And Dad was supposed to put up 50% plus being on the show. And we always had people on the show, Elvis, me, Carter family, Farron Young, different ones like that.
Right.
There were different tours, would be a different set of people. Carter's worked a lot with us though. And anyway, when he found out that he wasn't putting up his part of it, and the receipts didn't match up and that he was putting it in his pocket, he called him and asked him to come over. So Parker came over to find out, what he wanted. And Dad said, I want to go over these receipts with you on this tour. And of course, Parker had a terrible temper. He just got mad and started cussing, carrying on, everything, walking back and forth. And finally he looks at Dad and he says, I think it's time we kind of go our separate ways. Dad said, well, that's okay with me if that's what you want to do. And he said, what about our contract with Elvis? And Parker come over and went like that. With Dad sitting right there and said, you don't have any contract with Elvis. Oh, really? And he said, yes. He said he signed exclusively with me.
Whoa.
And that ended it. All kinds of news people came to my father.
Yeah.
So whenever they do things now, like any kind of documentaries, they don't even mention that section.
Yeah.
See, they're making a movie in Australia now with Tom Hanks about Parker. I doubt that they even mention this part.
Yeah.
They might,
Wow.
but it's in his book.
Wow.
He gives you a detail of it.
Wow. Hank Snow check, General Wig Manufacturers, 7367. We were just talking about that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that lower drawer down there, you see all those phones and everything?
Oh, yeah.
That's the area where he had the secret recording, the thing that he recorded when people called him. Because he learned by being rookie dude so many times in life,
Yeah.
I'm going to keep track of everything everybody does with me.
I guess
Which is
basically
smart.
there was two sides of Hank Snow. There was the performer, but then there was Hank Snow who had this battle that he fought.
Yes, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
My father, and I don't, he's got fans everywhere, and I don't want any of his fans out there to think anything negative about Dad, because he had a tremendous career.
Sure.
And but in his early years, he didn't know how to carry himself.
Yeah.
He had a difficult time. He was on his own at age 12. He only had a 5th grade education, so he taught himself everything.
Yeah.
He was poor until he was in his 40s.
Wow.
And, all of this stuff worked on him. And so he'd go to drink, and this would give him, he didn't know how to talk to an audience really good, which was my problem too, by the way.
Okay.
When God called me to preach, I thought, oh no, I can't do that. I couldn't give a book report in high school.
Uh-oh.
I'd skip school if I thought it was going to be a book report. And I never saw myself, because if there's any one thing you do in preaching, it's ad-libbing.
Sure.
And you got to do it fast.
Right.
And I just couldn't see myself ever doing that. Well, Dad was that way, so that part of his personality I got. The rest of the personality I got from my mother, who was very passive, very laid back. I never saw my mom ever lose her temper.
Wow.
Which says a lot.
Sure.
There was plenty of reasons why she could have with him.
Yeah.
But all those early years, my dad would take his frustrations out on me. I'm a kid, getting into a lot of stuff, And many times he'd probably kick me if I got in his way with his cowboy boots.
Yeah.
Used a lot of language, drank more than he should. I even remember times of him leaving me outside because I'd forget my coat, in the wintertime in Wheeling. I'm thinking of it right now, to upstairs apartment. And I had to sit out there in shirt sleeves, practically freezing all night long until my mother was able to sneak me in. It was really a bad situation. Today you'd go to jail for it.
Yeah.
He had a horse whip that he used with the horse a lot. He'd whip me with that, and it would go right through my clothes and leave scars and slap me around, all kinds of things. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I happened to be doing something on one of the museum they have in Nova Scotia. My dad is still like Elvis Presley there.
Sure.
Every year they have a big thing in August, so my wife and I would go up there every year. Sherry and I'd go up and I'd sing, but they let me preach. And that was one of the reasons why I said, okay.
Okay.
And of course I did gospel songs, which was not what they were doing, because it was a 4 or 5 day thing. Held there, and they had big crowds, 3, 4, 5,000 people all week long that were there, special days. And so I'm preaching one day, and it's in this building that the sides would open up, and I'm remembering that I got pictures of it. And I'm suddenly looking around, I'm on the stage, and I'm giving my testimony, and I happen to look out, and I can see the leftover bleachers from when I was 10 years old outside the building. This is a park.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, man, I remember this place. Our trailer used to park right there beside the creek. The creek is still there.
Wow.
In a little town called Bridgewater,
Okay.
Nova Scotia. And I'm going back in my mind while I'm talking to this audience. 142 people came forward and accepted the Lord this morning that I'm talking about, of all these fans.
Yeah.
And I'm telling them, I'm saying, hey, we used to park our trailer right there. And I said, my dad, we dressed alike. And I said, my dad told me, he said, now, son, if you're going outside, don't get your clothes dirty, because we're getting ready to do a show here in just a little bit. Those same bleachers. Well, I was outside, and some kids come along and shoved me in that little creek. I went inside. I knew I was going to get it. So first of all, he had given me a whipping. And I had to wear a different outfit, and then put a dress on me. I had to march out in front of that audience 10 times, back and forth in front of them.
Oh, wow.
Which, a 10-year-old kid, that got to me bad.
Yeah, sure.
And then I had to go back out in front of that same audience and perform. After I got through preaching and giving my testimony, we saw this wonderful altar service. Somebody walked up to me, an old man walked up to me, and he said, you know, he said, I was here at that program years ago. I saw that. And he said, I wondered at the time what you were doing. And he said, then you come out and performed. And he said, I had no idea.
My goodness.
I mean, I went through this
Yeah.
for quite some time with my father.
Wow.
But at age 22, when I surrendered to the Lord and decided to become a preacher of the gospel, my dad quit drinking, started correcting his language,
Wow.
and he made a drastic change. He didn't accept Jesus yet.
Yeah.
But where I'm at right now, right behind me, is a chair,
Yeah.
a recliner,
Right.
that my dad, about 6 months before,
Wow.
accepted Jesus into his heart
Wow.
by the lady from my church that I was pastoring here that was housekeeping for him and read the Bible to him every day. And he accepted the Lord then.
Isn't that wonderful?
But he honored God. He always thanked God for his career
Yeah.
and everything.
That's
all of
awesome.
that.
Wow. So this is where it happened.
Yes, actually, Brother Guyton, we're at my dad's house here, where I basically grew up. And right here, I knelt right here. This would be November 1957. I had just returned in September from doing the Lawrence Welk television show, which he was very popular in those days.
Right.
Spent some time in California doing a few things while I was there. My career was at its best. It's amazing how God starts dealing with us, isn't it? So then I was vacillating with the decision whether I wanted to go, to do things for the Lord or not. He was kind of reaching back and getting a hold of my heart, because I had been drinking for about 7 years and my life was really in turmoil.
Yeah.
Although this was a high spot career-wise, and I was making good money, had every reason why I should stay in the entertainment business.
Because you were on the charts. You were...
Everything was happening for me. And Dad was at his height and making, singing before crowds of 10, 12, 14,000 people. Back in that day was something. It's not so much of a big deal today. And I got a call in November from Elvis, which was one of the last times I saw him. "What are you doing?" I said, "Nothing much." And he used to come over here all the time. And I said, "Just hanging out a little bit." He said, "Well, why don't you come out to Memphis and we'll run around a little bit." So I went the first few days of January. I had made a big decision on my knees right here, having returned from watching a movie at a place. I don't know if you want me to tell the whole story or not, but I was still drinking, but God was starting to deal with me a little bit, and I just kind of shove it off. And I called this girl up and I said, "I'm not doing anything. You want to go to a drive-in movie with me?" And she said, "Yeah." Of course, I had other thoughts on my mind. I'm going to park my car on the back row and make my moves.
Sure.
And so I pick her up and I said, "What do you want to go see?" And she looked at me, she said, "The 10 Commandments."
Oh, goodness.
Oh, man. I thought, here I am being dealt with a little bit with God, got other things on my mind, trying to shove this off, get it away from me. But I determined in my mind, I'm going to go sit on that back row anyway.
Yeah.
So I got on the back row, and I'm making my moves,
Right.
And she had no part of it because she wanted to see the movie. And of course, it's a very religious movie.
Right.
And I'm just getting disgusted after about 15 or 20 minutes. And so I sit around and pout and cross my arms and start watching the screen. And I'm at that part where he's ostracized into the desert, and Cecil B. DeMille's voice comes on and says, "The man that walked with kings now walks alone, driven into the dust from whence he came, and the metal is now ready for the maker's use." And I mean, God shot an arrow into my heart. It hit me so hard. And that's the beginning of what happened right here. I dropped her off quick.
Yeah.
I came home, and the devil was doing everything he could to try to keep me from doing this.
Sure.
I reached in the drawer and grabbed my pistol that I carried everywhere with me, and I had intended on sticking that thing in my mouth, and this was 2 o'clock in the morning now. My mother, Dad was out of town, my mother was in the bedroom, which would be that last window down here on the house.
Yeah.
And she was in there reading. Maybe she could hear me, I don't know.
Yeah.
But for some reason or another, I just dropped that gun and I said, "God, I need a burning bush experience. If you're real, I need something."
Yeah.
And the power of God hit me, brother. And I never felt anything quite like it. And the Lord said, "I have kind of impressed in my heart, I've got something for you to do." Now, January, I'm at Elvis Presley's house for 10 days.
Yeah.
Of course, he was not a drinker. He was not a man of language. I used to be, but he wasn't. And so, we run around, just kind of enjoy life and everything. And so he's showing me this script of a movie he's getting ready to make, which was the third film, I believe.
Okay.
And he's asking me to read this thing in bed at night.
Yeah.
Okay, so I read it, wants to know what I thought about it and everything, and he's anxious about doing it. Puts his arm around me, and I said, "Well, I'm getting ready to leave, Elvis, and I'm going home." And I said, "You know what? Ordinarily, I would love to be involved in something like that with you or anybody else, but I'm giving up my career when I get home, and I'm going into the full-time ministry."
Wow.
And he, with his arm around me, the last thing he said to me, "I wish you well, and I'll be thinking about you." And I never saw him again. Got Christmas cards from him.
Yeah.
But here's where God spoke to my heart.
This was
That was 62 years ago,
Wow.
and I'm still preaching.
That's awesome. That is amazing. And it happened right here at this tree.
Same tree.
It's awesome.
It was much smaller, but
Yeah.
same tree.
Yeah.
We're talking November 1957. Now, I didn't go right into the ministry.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would have been December of 58
Okay.
when I made the decision
Yeah.
that I was going into ministry. But
You probably still had contracts and.
I had
dates
30
to
days of
fulfill.
contracts that I put in the garbage can.
Oh,
My
you
RCA Victor contract with a renewal for 3 years.
Yeah.
Put that in the garbage can. And anything else I had, I put lighter fluid on it, set it on fire, said that's it.
Wow.
And I never looked back. Now, I went from 12,000 people on my last show date, okay,
Yeah.
to 25 for my first revival in a 6-month span.
So this was officially the end of Jimmie Snow and his Tennessee Playboys.
That's right. It sure
Wow. Right here, folks. You've seen it. This is amazing.
was. It is.
I love it.
He doesn't play. He's faking it.
Hi, I hope you've enjoyed our presentation thus far from Rainbow Ranch, the home of former country music legend Hank Snow and his son, Pastor Jimmie Rodgers Snow. You know, one of the things I love about Jimmie Snow is just his humility and his realness. Some of the stories that Jimmie has shared with us on this program have never been shared before publicly, never been broadcast on television. But yet, Jimmie's willingness to share these stories so that someone else could be helped down life's road. That's a true servant of Jesus Christ. I've been amazed at all the stories. We had no idea when we set up our cameras at Rainbow Ranch that day that we would be there nearly 7 hours of non-stop taping. This was just supposed to be a little 1-hour program where we went in, got a couple of stories from Rainbow Ranch, because, you know, before Graceland, there was Rainbow Ranch. Hank Snow was the superstar of the day, and fans would flock by their home and stand out by the fence and try to get a glimpse to see if Hank was there. And then his young teenage son, Jimmie Snow, growing up and taking the rockabilly world along with Elvis by force and by surprise as well. People trying to get a glimpse out by the gate to see if they were home. This was the place. I love hearing all those stories. I loved hearing of all the ones that sat around and played the piano and who came in and out of that house so many years ago. Part of our American culture and history as we know it today took place at Rainbow Ranch. But I love the stories of Hank outside riding his horse, Shawnee, outside and around the barn there and showing all the tricks that he could do. And as you've seen some of that footage on this special presentation already, and then the stories of Jimmie and Elvis riding dirt bikes out in the backyard. So much history, and I'm thankful for the friendship. I'm thankful to know Jimmie Snow. I hope that you will tell others about this special video, especially if they are country music fans or Elvis fans or Jimmie Snow fans or fans of gospel music or people who just love to hear a good story of redemption, as he went into the ministry and began to preach the gospel and tell people how that they could be born again and how they can have a home in heaven. If you enjoyed this program, if you would like to continue to see programs like this brought into your home via video or television, would you consider supporting the Destiny Television Network? We are only able to present programs like this by your prayers and financial support. The information is going to be up on the screen, but if you'd like to make a donation to help us out, for your donation of $100, we're going to send you Jimmie Rodgers Snow's book entitled Another Elvis Story, which gives his testimony as well as several Elvis stories. It's full of pictures of Elvis and Hank and Elvis and Jimmie and Hank and Colonel Tom Parker. And we're also going to include the special LP, that's right, vinyl, for those of you that love the vinyl sound of Hank and Jimmie Rodgers Snow performing together at Jimmie's church, Evangel Temple, there in Nashville, Tennessee, with all the country music stars in attendance, and Hank and Jimmie singing gospel music, and Hank being able to witness to his daddy. These albums are rare, but Jimmie has so graciously made these available to the partners of Destiny Television. So call that number that's on your screen right now, or text the text number that's on your screen and say, I'd like to make my donation and get the videos, the book, and the album, as well as all the extra bonus footage. I look forward to hearing from you. Goodbye.
We are so glad you have been with us for Celebration. Our prayer is that today's program has been a blessing and an encouragement to you in your walk with the Lord. DTV is continually reaching out to spread the good news of Jesus Christ to all the world. We need your love gifts and prayers to help keep this ministry on the air 24 hours a day. So call us at 251-368-5433 or write us at DTV, P.O. Box 1420, Atmore, Alabama 36504. Or you can contact us online at destinytelevision.tv. Thank you for your continued support, and remember, God loves you and we do too.